that everyone is trying to compare this 2022 Georgia team to 2019 LSU. Now, I'm the one that's biased here, right? Like everybody, Blake's an LSU guy. I will give you the floor first on this because I might go a little long-winded. Is the 2022 Georgia team better than 2019 LSU?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is the goofiest thing that I have seen over the past 24 hours. I almost thought it was like a little bit of a joke. I kind of saw it popping up on my timeline. I'm like, these people can't be serious right now. We just saw this 2019 team. How are we comparing these two teams? Look, if they faced off with each other in this game, if it was Georgia versus LSU, those two different years, my point that I was trying to make there with the LSU argument is that with the big play, I know I cut out right when I was supporting you, with the big play receivers that they had, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, gunslinging Joe Burrow, who wasn't afraid to take any shots. We saw one big play in this game that TCU was able to produce. Imagine them taking shots the whole game. It would have been reminiscent to the game that LSU produced against that Oklahoma team. They would have run up the score on this Georgia team because they do not have the secondary. And on top of that, we forget how elite that offensive line was. They would have held their own against that Georgia defensive line. Absolutely would have held their own in that situation. I think it's ridiculous. It's a farce. This is a really good Georgia team. Again, back to back. It takes a lot of talent to go back to back. But there are so many freaking other good teams in the history of college football that are way better than that team that we saw yesterday.
I don't say this lightly, okay? And let me look in the camera when I say this. Jamar Chase would have had 200 yards receiving against Keely Ringo.
Probably more.
I'm trying to be, he did it against a first-round pick in A.J. Terrell, who's been in the league and not been a scrub, okay? LSU this season, as an example, threw for 500 yards with two quarterbacks combined. Tennessee could have done it if they would have actually been able to connect on those passes to Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman and others. They weren't able to connect. What do you think Burrow's about to do? BDJ would have waltzed up in there and absolutely torn them alive. Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase would be going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on this Georgia secondary. Do I think that it's a blowout from LSU like you mentioned? No. I still think Georgia's offense would have scored because LSU's defense had issues in the run game at times that year. I think Georgia would have scored. But to think that Joe Burrow, who accumulated 65 total touchdowns in the SEC, wouldn't have done it against that Georgia team's crazy. He got in a shootout against one of the better Bama teams that we'd ever seen on paper. Okay, the two a year when they had Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle and Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. By the way, they had 4 offensive linemen on that offense at Alabama that got drafted.
Yeah.
Okay, they won in a shootout. I think LSU wins. I think they win by 14 at minimum. Okay, but everybody, Joe, here would be my question to you. If you did have a crystal ball and could put two teams together, I know you answered this earlier today. You're putting 01 Miami and 19 LSU together? See who wins it all? Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. We're going to have...
Blake, let me know when I'm back. I apologize.
Okay, here we go. So if you had a crystal ball and you could take one team from 1 year and another team from another year and make them play against one another, who would you pick and who would win?
So the two that I picked earlier, and I think the internet issues are because of the weather nearby, but if I were to pick two teams, I said this earlier, that 01 Miami team and that 2019 LSU team, absolutely. Like that, people forget, I think it was against Washington. There was one team, that 01 Miami team, that they put like 60 points on. Like reminiscent of this, and it was like a top 10 ranked team that they hung 60 points on. They were blowing every single team out, and that team had so many first-round picks on it. Imagine the shootout that we would have gotten from that matchup. Oh, my God, that would have been fun.
The only thing for me is this. They beat Boston College 18-7. They struggled that year.
Was that Matt Ryan?
No, not 2001. Not 2001.
Okay. Okay.
The Miami Hurricanes struggled, okay, against Boston College. Now, they had good wins when they were still in the Big East, but here's who they would play. Rutgers didn't win a game. Pitt wasn't above 500. West Virginia wasn't above 500. Temple at that moment in time hadn't won a game in 2 years. Well, my point is
they're blowing the doors off of these teams, though. It's not like they're goofing around with them.
But LSU faced 7 ranked opponents in the top 10. Average point of victory was 20 points. That Miami defense was great. There's one human being that's walked this earth and played college football that can't be stopped, won't be stopped. His name is BDJ, Joe Burrow. Okay? He's going to lot. Joe, I don't think what people understand, like everybody's like, oh, well, yeah, they were good, but you literally had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson breaking receiving records in their first year. Justin Jefferson just broke Randy Moss's record for the first 3 years in receiving yards.